Hello everybody. The purpose of this video is to overview briefly the syllabus for your class this early summer 2016. So I'm going to just be focusing on a few of the sections for the class, but before I begin, I wanted to mention that this is a 5-unit class, which basically means that in a regular session, meaning a 12-week quarter, we designed the class for 5 hours in class, and then 10 outside, or 15 hours total for online learning. So in a regular quarter, it will be 15 hours. Obviously, in a summer where we have half the time, it's compressed, obviously. That means about double. So you should be planning to spend at least 25 to 30 hours per week over the next 6 weeks to cover the material for this class. The syllabus is structured around 6 sections. As you can see, section 1 or SY1 is my contact information. Section 2 is description and so on. You should probably pay special attention to the textbook info in section 3, the grading in section 6, and the class calendar in section 7, and maybe a little bit of obviously of section 10, because you do need to know a little bit about the policies for the class. So let me get right into it. Contact info, as you can see, here's my office at school. I'm hardly there, and especially in the summer, I will be traveling, so you will not find me at my office. My office phone is there, 786 extension, but again, I won't be there and I won't be collecting my calls. So I always say you need to use private messages inside of ATUS, which is the whole purpose of that anyway. So please, keep in mind and note that the office hours in an online class are exclusively online and done via private messages for the most part. And if you want to post some public discussions or some public comments or messages, you can do so in the discussion forums in ATUS. In terms of the textbook, section 3, you probably by this point you know that you have to have the right textbook to begin with, which when you bought it, most likely, if you bought it at the bookstore, it came bundled with an access code that will give you access to my accounting lab, or MAL. Together with the course ID here, the access code and the course ID will give you what you need to register in the correct section of my accounting lab. And to do so, you simply go to this URL right here and go to register under student. And then if it's the first time you go through this process, you go to this page and then you register. So you're going to be using this course ID in that box, and then you will find the right section for your class. At this point, most likely, since you took Accounting 1A at Foothill, if you did, you would have used the same textbook already, so you will already have a username and password. If you don't, if this is your first time, then you can just create a Pearson account, and at some point it will ask you for for the access code that came with the book. Once you're done, you're in. That will take care of one of your 3 orientation tasks, and you should be ready to go. But obviously, to get to that point, you don't need to buy the book. Again, if you already bought it for 1A, then you're good. You don't have to do anything else. In fact, if you already bought the book and you already have an account in MAL, you don't have to go through this whole process here anymore. You just simply add the course using the course ID inside of your MAL account. But if you still need to buy the book, then I suggest you buy the first option here, which is at the bookstore. That way you know that you have the right textbook that will actually help you take not just accounting 1B, but also accounting 1C. So it's good for 3 classes, 1A through 1C. There are other options, that you can actually use. So select the one is best for you, but highly recommend that you use this one. It's a good price, actually, much better than sometimes than doing it in pieces. If for some reason you don't have money to buy at the moment, you do have an offer for a temporary access code, and you go through the same process as the regular process over here on top, and at some point you'll be given this screen which gives you this link here to access the free 14-day option. Obviously you would need to upgrade within those 14 days before it expires. In terms of content, this class covers chapters 10 through 17 in 6 weeks. Please make sure you read all these notes that I have written in each section. Section 6 gives you all of the grading for your class. As you can see, 10% of your grade is based on attendance, which means 3 logins per week, 1 on Monday. It also means 5% of the grade is actually class participation, which means 1 posting per chapter per week. In some cases, you will need 2 because you're covering 2 chapters per week. And below this table, you will find more detail for each of these items. The grade also includes 8 little quizzes, which I refer to as reading checks. Only 7 count. I dropped the lowest score automatically in your grade book. And now you see that if you take 7 and you earn the full point, 100% on the reading checks, then you get 1 point for each. The reading checks are 7% of your overall grade. There are 8 homeworks assigned. The actual homework items are listed in the class calendar, as you'll see later. 7 of the 8 homeworks count. We dropped the lowest score. 7 times 3, 21% of your grade is based on homework. Notice that both homework and reading checks are taken inside of MAL by the deadlines. They are unlimited takes and unlimited time for each, so it should be just easy. Well, at least it should be very doable to get 100% of these items. You also got 2 midterm exams throughout the quarter. Each is 15 points, so their overall grade for the homework, for the midterm exams is 30%. And finally, you've got a final exam, which is worth 32% of the grade. At the end of the quarter, I aggregate all of your weighted grades, and I will be using this scale to assign grades. This is the standard scale used in most colleges. Again, make sure you read all these notes. They're important for your understanding of how this class is set up. Here's more detail for each item that I just talked about. And here's a calendar. In section 7, you have some links to certain resources that you might need. How I set up the calendar is by week. So each week I have the week number. Then I've got the actual dates for the week, and then I give you the RCs for the reading checks and the HWs for the homeworks. And notice that here I list the actual homework items that are actually tested in the homeworks, in the pages, and the due dates in MAL where they're gonna be due. So everything is here listed. The class calendar controls all due dates, regardless of what other dates are shown in my accounting lab or in ATS or anywhere else. What really controls the due dates is always the class calendar. So there might be reasons why I change the dates or extend dates in Mal, but in reality, the due dates are always anchored towards to the class calendar. So always refer to the class calendar every single week. It also the calendar also shows you the pages assigned for reading, like in the case of chapter 10. So this is how you keep track of what you want to do each week. Now I'm going to remind you every Monday and at the end of the week, and so there's a lot of reminders that I send out as announcements that basically it's information taken from the class calendar, and sometimes I add a few other things in the actual announcements and in the dashboard that also shows the class calendar there. I mean the agendas as well there, but they're all based on what you see here in the class calendar. CA means class activities, so there will be a class activity to begin with in this first week. Is your orientation, which includes 3 little tasks, and again you will see at the beginning in your agenda what that is. But it basically is a brief bio, registering to use Mal, and also taking a brief orientation quiz. In the dashboard, you'll see the actual instructions. They're pretty simple. Notice that the midterm exam, the first one will be out at the end of week 2 already. So make sure you plan accordingly. Then you've got the heavy duty chapters 13, 14, and 15 are in the middle of the week. Of the quarter. Weeks 3, 4, and 5 with exam 2 covering those chapters at the end of week 5, and finally in week 6 you have 2 chapters due in that week, with also the final exam at the end of that last final week of the quarter. The quarter will go through very, very, very fast. So don't fall behind. You won't be able to catch up. If any questions on either any part of the syllabus, just post them under the my office discussion threads, in the discussions in Etudes, or in private messages. Also, I want to mention here as one of my final points that the class officially does happen from Monday through Friday at noon. I do work for the class over the weekend, but don't rely on that, because what I do normally on the weekends, I do grading, I prep work, and I do have a little bit of a social life at times. So I highly recommend that you actually accelerate your work and do not wait until the very last second to submit your work. Even though the deadlines are for the weekend, in reality, you should be doing those things way ahead of time to get help and to provide help to others as well. Let's see what else. A few other things down here regarding class policies. Here, dropping the class would be an important thing to look into, just in case. Let me just add this little thing here. It's 25 to 30 hours per week in the summer. No late submissions. Use your drafts strategically, and so on and so on. So please read these items as well. That will be very helpful, I promise you. Well, I hope this actually has helped. And if you have any questions, again, just make sure you let me know through the discussions or through private messages. Enjoy. Take care. Bye-bye.